All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's Rafi Chowdhury here with RafiChowdhury.com. And just got a few minutes here at 6:35 p.m. local time here. And I've got a meeting that's at 7:15. So I thought, hey, why not take a few minutes to put a quick presentation together, just kind of sharing with you guys what I've been learning about landing pages, landing page optimization, and some things that I think we can all be doing to make sure that our landing pages are converting, they are optimized, and that they have copy and and that they convert. They sell the product or the service that that you're looking to sell with them. So with that being said, I've put together a small presentation that I'm going to kind of share with you guys, walk you guys through it. It's just basically 17 points that I've kind of put together, that help you optimize your landing pages. It's going to be like a checklist format. So we're going to go through it. It's going to take no more than maybe like about 30 minutes or so for us to go through this checklist. So stick with me and let's get it done. All right, let's do it. So 17-point landing page optimization checklist by yours only, Rafi Chowdhury. And let's hide this thing at the bottom. All right, here we go. So what are we going to talk about today? A few things. Killing the navigation, giving a shout out to a specific target. For the body, we're going to talk about applying the keep it simple, stupid model. We're going to talk about creating really, really good headlines, something that I've recently created a video on. We're going to talk about having really good, concise click-through actions. And we're going to talk about action colors and what colors and how should you design your click to action buttons. We're going to talk about specific click to action buttons and messaging that goes on these buttons and how much difference they can make in conversions. We're also going to talk a little bit about leveraging social proof. We're going to talk about obviously directions and visual cues within your landing pages. We're going to talk about the importance of having main featured images. So again, we're going to talk a little bit about how to keep these things simple and not to have too many requests that come from each of your landing pages. And we're gonna make sure that the messaging on those landing pages and the sources that you get the messaging from end up matching. Talking about being social, how to keep your messaging, how to keep your landing pages consistent with your brand in terms of color, how you design them, what kind of messages are on there. Then we're gonna talk a little bit about privacy and terms and things like that. So, step 1, kill the navigation. The landing page should not distract the visitor with the ability to navigate away from the page. It's a very simple one. Each landing page should be very, very simply designed, and you don't need to send people off to a different page from there. I've noticed a lot of people will put little click-through actions. Like I've seen pages where people have said, after someone opts in, they're like, oh, hey, join my Facebook group. So their funnel hasn't ended. Like there's more steps to what they want these visitors to do, but they're like, join my Facebook group. Okay, that's a button like somewhere on the side. And they have another click-through action later that says, wait, don't go away. I have blah, blah, blah more to share with you. So if people click to join Facebook, you're already distracting them, right? That's going to open up a new tab. Or if you don't do it correctly, if you open on the same tab, that's even worse because then you're taking them away from your funnel and onto Facebook. But even if you open that new, that in a like join my Facebook group in a different tab, you're now all of a sudden distracting your audience from doing what you want them to ultimately do. So it doesn't make sense to have two calls to action. Just make sure that your navigation is crisp and clean and that they stay on that page and they don't have any distractions. There are some things called exit intent pop-ups I've noticed on some websites where if people try to X out of the page, that's when the pop-up will appear and say, wait, why, don't leave yet. Download this, or make sure that you haven't forgotten to do that. Those are really powerful, and I would encourage you guys to consider maybe putting those in there and somewhere in your funnel if you do see a lot of people are starting to leave the page for whatever reason. So just no distractions, keep it simple, and make sure that they can't navigate away to different pages from your landing page that you don't want them to. Step 2. A good landing page gives a shout out to a specific target. You have realistically about 2 to 4 seconds, it's roughly about 3 seconds really, to let the visitor know that they came to the right place. Call them out, be direct or indirect with familiar imagery or dialogue. And what that means is that as soon as these people land on your website or on your landing page, you got to right away capture their attention by targeting and addressing that particular problem or that particular demographic. And I've learned that one of the best ways that you can do that is with a question. So think of the biggest pain point that you're looking to solve with your website or with your customer journey funnel, whatever you want to call it, and basically ask that as a question. Are you struggling with traffic? Are you struggling to create your with Facebook ads? Are you struggling to lose the last 10 pounds around your stomach? Are you struggling to build a birdhouse? Whatever the biggest problem is that you're looking to solve on that page, or whatever just speak directly out to that particular that audience base. Are you a single mom who's struggling to raise your kids? That just immediately captures their attention. They know this is for them, and they know that this is something that they need to keep reading. And if you speak directly to your audience, it will make a lot more sense, and they won't feel like, oh, I clicked the wrong ad. All right, step 3. For the body, apply the KISS method. So if you guys don't know what KISS stands for, it stands for keep it simple, stupid. And in this case, you want to keep it not only simple, stupid, but very simple, stupid. Okay, really, really stupid. So when inbound lead generation is the objective, I've never seen a single landing page design use more than one single message, offering more than one single promise. Again, just have one message, one promise per page. No, there should not be 2 different calls to action. There should not be 2 different messaging. You don't need to have any extra content, any type of extra stuff that's not helping to basically take them to the next page of your journey, of the customer journey, right? So the more distractions you put on there, the more things they can distract you with, that's going to be better. And with that being said, I've also found it helpful to stack things on top of each other rather than on the sides. So basically you want to ideally, you want the users to be able to read straight all the way down from top to bottom without having to scroll horizontally, on the page to see different things on your page. Not even scrolling, but even their eyes should really ideally go top to bottom the entire time, and you should organize and stack things the way that you want them to consume that information. So just get rid of distractions, keep it simple, keep it to the point, and each page of your landing page should have one call to action, and ideally it should take them to the next step of your funnel. Step 4, create a killer headline. I think I talked a little bit about it in the previous slide. You need to catch their attention in that 2 to 4 seconds when they land on that page, and you need to keep engaging them throughout, from the top all the way to the bottom of the page. So you got to keep them guessing, and you have to keep them completely interested. And the way to do that is by creating really, really good headlines and also really, really good sub headlines. And you can't give away all of your, it's like if you write a story, like a blog post, you put the title, and then immediately you put the conclusion, like the abstract in like a paper, then people are not going to read the body. There's no need for that. It's the same thing. When you're creating a landing page, make sure that you have your headline. Make sure that you keep them engaged throughout the entire thing by saying, this happens. Okay, let's find out what happens next and what happens next, and keep them guessing what's happening next, so they have to keep watching your video or, scrolling down your landing page to get their question thoroughly answered. So basically what I'm saying is that don't give away the main content of the answers until you get to the bottom of that page. So you need a clear, concise, benefit-rich headline that grabs your reader's attention and tells them that they've come to the right place. All right, step 5, click-through action, call to action. So most of your visitors won't scroll below the fold. So if you're making a free offer, give them an easy-to-click, highly visible call to action without scrolling. So what do I mean when I say they're not going to scroll below the fold? The fold basically is from the top of your screen to the bottom of your screen, right? So if they're on a mobile, from the top of their phone to the bottom of their phone on that screen. If they have to scroll, means it's below the fold. So your most important actions, your calls to action, your click, buttons, you want to ideally put those above the fold, because if you put it below, chances are they're never going to scroll and they may just leave that page and they will never have seen your call to action to begin with. So make sure that the most important aspects of your landing page are above the fold. So if you have, let's just say like a headline, you've got some body, some text, maybe a video over here on the left, and then like you have some more like testimonials and examples and stuff like that, make sure that before you get to testimonials and all this kind of stuff, you put a little call to action button right there near the, like right before your fold happens, like the break happens at the bottom of your screen, just to make sure that your audience has a chance to see that call to action, what you're trying to get them to do before they have to scroll down. It's very, very important. And this is just how people behave. Most people don't really scroll. Step 6, action colors and call to action buttons with contrast. There's a lot of debate about button colors, but one constant is that button colors should contrast, not blend in with the surrounding design elements. So there's a lot of talk on this, but in general, what I've found is that nature's warning colors combined with like thumbs up colors typically works well. So let's just say like you have an important call to action. You want to ideally put that like maybe in red or yellow. Or if you have like maybe a lot of times, like if you're trying to get people to join your program, your mastermind, your group, whatever, you want them to do something good, maybe you can put that in green, because green tends to also convert well. But the main thing here is that you want to make sure that your landing page is a whole bunch of stuff. Like you're trying to explain what you're trying to sell. You're trying to back it up with case studies, testimonials, videos, and all this kind of stuff, just convincing, persuasive type of stuff, content. But when you put a call to action, when you want them to see something specific that you want them to focus on that page, just make sure that it's a separate color. Ideally something that has to do something with your brand colors also. Ideally it's a separate color than the rest of the body of that text or whatever else is on that page. So that if somebody's kind of glancing at it, remember we talked about 2 to 4 seconds is all you have to get their attention and get them to see that call to action. It makes it really easy if you make it contrast out from the rest of the stuff that's on your page. Okay, so step 7, specific call to action button messaging. So what you actually say on your button when you want them to take action on something really makes a huge difference, believe it or not. And salesy type of words typically don't do well. So when you put generic stuff like submit, it's not good enough. Test button text that gives a specific command or speaks to the end result. An example, free instant access, makes a lot, makes a difference, and it helps with conversions as well. So if you're, let's just say like on my website, I have a call to action. Like I basically have this little landing page and I say, hey, if you're still not convinced that I can do all these things for you, here, go ahead and give me your name and email, and I'll pick one person each month, and I will growth hack, and grow their Twitter account for free. And then in my button, call to action button, I actually put, Rafi, you're amazing, smiley face. That actually maybe resonates with my audience even more than if I just said submit. Submit. What does that even mean? Like submit. It's just like so generic. So you want to actually tell them, like you want to create like visuals and appeal to emotions by actually stating on that button what they're about to get if they hit that button, if that makes any sense. So free instant access, I'm in, or join the amazing mastermind, or get featured today, whatever, your call to action, whatever you're trying to get them to actually ultimately do, whatever they're going to gain from that, from giving you their information or their money, is ideally you want to hint that like with the text of your call to action buttons. All right, step 8, leveraging social proof. And this is really, really, really important, and it is one of the least utilized of all these landing page conversions that we're probably going to talk about. Social proof makes a huge difference, okay? Like it's just like referrals. Think about it. Businesses in the past didn't really have all this internet and all this way of marketing that we have today. They solely relied on referrals. And social proof is kind of like referrals. Like you really want to make sure that you have as much social proof as you possibly can, as seen on logos. So for example, like if you have been featured in major outlets and newspaper, places, you want to definitely put those logos on there. And if you need help with that, message me, because that's exactly what I help people with. So those things again show that you're taken seriously, and big name publications are talking about you. Like it shows that you're not just a random person just starting today. It shows tenure, it shows expertise. Social media share buttons. If it shows that some article has been shared 100, 10,000 something times, people are more likely to read it. Like on YouTube, if you see the viewer count is really high, thumbs up is really high, guess what? People are going to watch the video. They must be good if so many people are watching it. Testimonials, tons and tons of testimonials. In my opinion, video testimonials work best just because it's more personalized and it helps to really sell the story. Text-based testimonials are okay too, but in my experience, video testimonials do a lot better job of converting and convincing someone that you're legit and that they need to work with you, and that there's people backing this idea up that you're presenting to your target audience. Referencing the number of downloads. So Russell Brunson does a really good job of this. If you go to like .com Secrets, I think, or both of his books, he talks about he tells you how many downloads they've had, and that again shows social proof. If somebody, like if 190,000 people downloaded the book must be something good. If so many people downloaded it. So if the numbers look good, stats, back up what you're doing, try to put those as much of that as you possibly can. Like on your landing pages and stuff like that, you can say, more than so many copies sold, or our group has more than 175 influencers who have joined, whatever. And yeah, talk about how many subscribers you have, letting your visitors know that they're making a smart decision by opting in, and they're not the only one, and thousands of other people have already done the same thing that they're about to do. Step 9, use directionals and visual cues. So what do I mean by this? The landing page should incorporate arrows, boxes, and other visual devices to draw the eye to the call to action area. Even a simple arrow pointing the desired call to action can boost conversions, like it has for one of my basically my friend's website, which I mentioned here. And I'm not going to click this link because I don't know where it's going to take me right now. But basically, long story short, is that if you have a specific call to action button and there's a whole bunch of stuff that's going on in that landing page, and maybe because you need to have a whole bunch of stuff, if you put it all above the fold just to make a point, well, just pointing little arrows to the call to action button on that page helps, because again, it draws people's attention to that. Okay. And I'm going to use like an art example. So in my art class back in college, Frank Albertson taught this class. I think it was like intro to art. He talked about this, how artists, when they paint, they kind of make your eyes, like they paint the centerpiece of that art, like the main focus point. They do it so where your eye goes straight to that, the first thing you look at, and then your eyes kind of draw out and then draw right back in again. And he used the Last Supper, the image of the Last Supper, as an example of this, because like when you look at that image, the first thing that your eye first goes to Jesus just sitting there with all of his disciples at the table, and then your eyes kind of start kind of going to the peripherals, and you get to see some of the stuff around him, and then like just the way that the picture was painted, your eyes naturally get drawn back to him again, goes back out, back in again. That's exactly what you're doing by using these visual like cues and directions and arrows and things like that. You're letting people know that, hey, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on that I want you to see, but here's the most important thing that you cannot miss. You cannot leave my site without looking at this particular call to action at least. Again, remember, you got 2 to 4 seconds, mainly 3 seconds, to let people know this is what you want them to do. Yes, all the stuff around it is convincing and great, but if they don't see the main call to action on that page, they're not gonna click anything, and they're gonna leave, and it's just a waste of a visitor. So again, it helps. Okay, step 10, water break. At least one hero image. So what do I mean by hero image? Typically, an image or graphical representation of the lead magnet will bump conversions, but not always. So start with it as a control, but make a note to test without it also. Meaning, so if you're trying to get people to buy a book, put a picture of the book. If you want people to join your mastermind group, put an image of people in your mastermind group. If you want people to join your I don't know, get like some sort of a course, put as many pictures, like put a picture of you holding like your book that you wrote, or the course materials that in your hand, or something to let people know this is a real thing. And just again, you're trying to appeal to emotions. You're kind of letting them see, hey, this is what you're about to get. It's like if you go to a website for a restaurant, if they want to really persuade you to buy something off that menu, what are they going to do? They're going to put a really nice, delicious image of that, of the food that you're about to buy. Think about it. Like the last time you went to a restaurant, you saw a menu, right? And there's a whole ton of stuff on the menu, but some things on the menu have ginormous, awesome pictures in them. Why is that? And ask yourself, how often did you buy something that was pictured versus all these other things that could have been just as tasty maybe, and maybe cheaper even, but didn't have an image, but you went with the one that had the image. It's just what we naturally tend to do. We want to try to see what we're about to buy, and having a visual representation of it right there in front of our face really helps a lot. It helps the restaurant out too, because they take their items that they're trying to promote that month or whatever the thing is, and they, obviously price it really, they use price anchoring, all these different strategies. They make sure that they get your money out of it, and they put the higher ticket items in a nice image, the ones that they really want to push, and they put the pictures of those because they know you're going to buy those over the ones that didn't have a picture. So it's the same thing on a landing page as well. Having a visual representation of what the customer or the audience is about to buy or get, even like if you're giving away some training and stuff, just having a little flash drive in your hand and taking a picture, taking like a selfie or a picture of you with that flash drive in your hand definitely helps in personalizing that thing. And people just like the idea of being able to see what they're about to buy over the internet. So just make sure to put a really good picture that kind of, tells them what they're about to get. Okay, step 11, don't ask for more than you need. Minimize form fields. Don't ask for information you don't need. If you plan to follow up via email, just ask for name and email at most. In fact, test dropping the name field too if you don't plan on personalizing your follow-up messages. In my experience, conversions and forms start dropping once you go above 3 fields. So you want to have name, email, maybe phone number, name, email, maybe like first name, last name, email, or something along those lines, name, email, website, address, something like that. As you start to, after 3 fields, as you start to go more and more fields, conversions tend to drop. And again, we talked a little bit about attention span on the internet. It's just not that high. People don't spend that much time. So ask them to fill out a whole bunch of stuff, especially on the first time they're visiting you, the first, your first page of your landing page. It's just not a good idea. You want to ideally have as few fields as possible, and don't ask for stuff that you don't need. In my experience, I definitely would ask for their name because I'm not a huge believer in, non-personalized messages, anyway. So you should definitely ask for their name if possible, unless you're using like ManyChats or some sort of chat bot or something like that where you already know their information because it pulls it from Facebook or something like that. In that case, you may not need that at all. So unless you're using one of those softwares, make sure that you ask for their name and at least their email. And in my case, because I love personalized connections, I also ask for people's phone number. And sometimes people do give it, sometimes they don't. It just depends. I've been experimenting with both. Step 12, source messaging to landing page match. The text and imagery on the landing page should match almost exactly the ad copy and imagery that was in the creative that brought the visitor to the landing page from a traction channel. Meaning the message should be consistent. So if your ad has certain types of messaging, make sure that you stay consistent on your landing page as well, as far as color, ad, images, video, all this kind of stuff. Try to stay consistent so that when they click the ad and they come to your landing page, they're like, wait a second, I thought this was about this, but it's about that. You want to stay as consistent with brand as possible. The message copy, again, don't hire different types of copywriters to do different parts of your funnel. Just have the same person write all of it, or you write it yourself. Just make sure that everything is consistent and it kind of flows naturally, and there's not a whole lot of difference between what they saw in the ad copy to what they're reading in your landing page. Because again, just like those annoying videos that you see on YouTube, people put on here something about something, like the title is clickbait, then you click it, the video has nothing to do about it. What's your reaction to that? You absolutely hate that video, you put a thumbs down, and Google hates it too because your bounce, the bounce rate is so high, and those things typically start to, go to the bottom. So don't trick people, don't confuse them, don't put something as ad copy that you're not about to really present to them in your rest of your landing pages. Just make sure that you're consistent with, your ad is consistent and match what you're about to put on your landing page. All right, be social. This is huge. While landing pages typically don't go viral, some of your more altruistic visitors will click Facebook and Twitter share buttons, so make it easy and obvious for them to do so. There's always going to be those brand evangelists, those patrons that are going to love what you have to share. So if there are those people, again, give them the option to share it. It can't hurt, right? Just having some sort of Facebook share button or something they can use, or give the link to their friends or something like that, definitely helps. And I do think that it can increase conversions. Step number 14, be consistent with the brand. You don't have to stick to your logo on every single landing page, but the overall look and feel should be consistent with your core brand. Again, like I talked about in the last couple slides ago, like Facebook ad copy matching your landing page copy, just try to stay as consistent as possible. Like I said, you don't need to put your logo every single time, but the color should more or less be similar. The ad copy should be similar. Your images should need to be, similar, something like that, just so that there's not a whole lot of disconnect between your actual brand message and your brand colors and your brand voice versus the ad itself. So privacy and terms, this is, again, one that's not talked about very often, but is important. Facebook in particular will check to see if you have privacy and terms pages or not in your landing pages. And if you do, they're gonna they're gonna show your ad. They're gonna lower your cost per lead. And so you definitely want to make sure that you have those kind of things on there, not just for Facebook purposes, but also for legal reasons and for refunds and buyer. Anytime you have a problem, things like that, you can point to your privacy and terms pages and say, hey, look, I mentioned everything there. Disclaimers are all in there, so there's nothing that you need to be confused about. Not only are privacy policies and terms of service required to advertise on some sites, including Google, they're also good for conversions. And they're obviously good if you get yourself in trouble ever with an attorney or something like that, and things just get messy, and you never know. That's pretty much it. That's all I have for you guys. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Hope you guys liked it. And if you like this sort of presentation, just me, kind of putting some ideas together on PowerPoints and kind of sharing with you guys what I'm learning in my journey, definitely let me know in the comments below, and would love to help, create some more videos like this in the future. Thank you guys, and have a blessed weekend.